Hello there, my name's Eudene Griffith. I'm on the Employability Trainer for West Central and I'm here with my colleague Gemma.
Hello, my name's Gemma Heywood and I'm the Employability Psychologist for West Central.
Right, so today we're talking on the topic of basically being mixed race. It's all about the Black History Month and we're a subgroup. Gemma and I are both mixed race. We have dual heritage. Both of our mothers are white English and both of our fathers are Black Caribbean. And both of us have we have a lot of things in common with regards to our upbringing. But sometimes, I'd like to say, if anything, a lot of people don't really realise how, being mixed race, how it does kind of have an impact on your upbringing and your childhood and your adulthood in a sense. So really, this is kind of a talk to kind of say, where do I belong? Because obviously it was quite confusing as kids growing up. We'd obviously have both sides of cultures. We'd have our mother's culture, where obviously it was very, it's an English culture, very westernized. And then obviously we'd have our father's culture, still very westernized, but obviously it's a Caribbean heritage background. So yeah, this is kind of a chat with regards to kind of where do I belong. So I'll start off with the first question for Gemma. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood experiences as growing up as a mixed race child?
Sure. Well, my parents split when I was at quite a young age. I was about 7 years old. Fortunately, I had quite a close relationship with my dad's side of the family, but I also had a close relationship with my mum's side of the family as well. So I had lots of cousins on my dad's side.
Right.
The majority of them were mixed race.
Oh, wow.
The school I went to, that was predominantly white.
Okay.
If I look back, I think I was the only mixed race female in the whole of the school.
Wow, so there was no black girls, black boys or anything, it's just...
Not when I was at junior and infant school. The area I grew up in was predominantly white.
Wow.
There was Asian girls, there was Asian males, not a great deal, but again, I was the only mixed race child within the school. Yeah, it was, I mean, I had my cousins on my mum's side and my cousins on my dad's side. I can't ever remember feeling very different.
Right, okay.
I can remember my hair was obviously, it was curly, my skin was a different colour, although I'm quite light.
Yeah.
So I don't think it really had a major impact. I think the first time I can remember noticing that I was different was when I probably got towards the end of the infant school.
Oh, right.
And I think the thing that made me realise that was name calling, people calling you names.
What kind of names did you get called?
Well, I don't know whether I'm allowed to say the names I got called, but it tended to be, I think people thought that I was of Pakistani origin.
Oh, wow.
It didn't happen often.
Right.
It was quite rare, really, and
Right.
it tended to be males, so boys.
Wow.
That would, I can't ever really recall females calling me, ever saying no, ever implying that I was of Pakistani origin.
Wow.
And I think it just used to confuse me a little bit because obviously I knew that I wasn't of Pakistani origin, so it was kind of confusing, really.
Wow. And did teachers, ever step in and correct it, or?
I can't ever recall. It's like I said, it wasn't a regular occurrence for me. I don't ever recall teachers stepping in. I actually remember one of my mum's nieces, who was my cousin, we were in the same year at school. And I recall somebody that she was with calling me a name. And she didn't step in, she just stood there. But I did go back and tell my mum, and my mum had a conversation with her mum, but nothing ever materialised from it. No, there was no apology or anything like that.
Because I think back in the day, it was almost accepted, like if, you know, you're a different race or something, like it's almost like, well, you know, you can't make a thing of it. It is what it is.
I think, yeah, particularly in the 80s, really, it was very much like that.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we have a second question.
Did you ever feel pressurised to identify as only one race group growing up?
Okay. So Gemma's asked me that question. Yeah, I did actually. So when I was at secondary school, I made friends. Well, I was friends with two sisters actually, and they were both black. And I did feel quite pressured, to be honest with you, to be, you know, class myself as black. I do class myself as black now as a grown woman, but I'm proud of being mixed race. But I know that if you put me in a lineup, you know, in a line of white women and just me, obviously, I've got a dark complexion compared to a lineup of other white women, and I'm mixed race, so naturally you're gonna see me as black. And because my hair, I've got locks, I'm very much, I think people automatically now think I'm just a light-skinned black woman. Not, they don't probably see me as mixed race now having locks. So yeah, so I think I did feel a bit pressured at school. I can remember when I was younger, when I first started secondary school, I was like, what, 12, and it was quite odd actually being mixed race. And I think this is why I wanted to bring this, you know, to the table so people can be educated about this, because on a weekday, Monday to Friday, I would be chased home, I kid you not, chased home from school by black girls being called half-breed. So they would chase me from school all the way home, and it was probably, I used to have to do about 1.5 mile walk. It was 1.5 mile walk, so I used to run it 1.5 mile. I'd be chased home, and there'd be like a gang of them threatening to beat me up and just calling me half-breed and all that kind of stuff. So I'd run home, but then it's oddly, then on a Sunday morning, I used to go to ballet class, and I was the only black girl in the ballet class. And then I'd have the parents then kind of, you know, umming and ahhing and asking, you know, why is this black girl in this ballet class? So I always had the two sides. So I had racism from both sides.
And I think you grew up in a more ethnic minority area than what I did.
Right, exactly that.
I grew up in a more rural area. There was less black people, a lot less. I mean, if I think about it, my dad was the only black man on the estate.
Wow. And exactly that. So where I grew up, in the area of Moseley in Birmingham, so it was very diverse, and it's just a little village, and you know, it was, you know, it was a nice kind of environment when everybody's being nice. But then, you know, when people are being a bit, you know, funny with regards to colour, it could get uneasy. But yeah, so I think my experience is very much, it's been both sides. I think I've seen the beauty of both sides, but I've also seen, you know, the horrible side of both sides as well. And I think that's what a lot of people fail to understand.
And I think I probably saw less of the dark side from black people, really, because the only black people I really mixed with was my dad's family. And because the majority of my cousins were mixed race, we could all identify in that respect with each other, although I can never remember having a conversation with them about it. I never remember actually feeling very different from everybody else.
See, that's beautiful. And I must say, my dad's family, and we're still very close, like they embraced me. So obviously I've got family you know, in Birmingham. I'm from my dad's side, and obviously family as well in Barbados. And there, I talk to them like every other day or something. But my family were really embracing. But I just found that in, you know, my teenage years, that I got a lot of, I just got a lot of hatred from like black girls, and I used to think, well, why? Because, you know, I identify as black, you know, we're all one, but that's what I used to get. Yeah, odd. Okay, so I'll ask you another question, Gemma. So how did you feel about your race as a teenager?
I think as a teenager, again, it was very different from when I was at primary school and junior school. And I don't know whether it was this because you're actually turning from a child into a young woman, aren't you?
Right.
So I was very much, again, I think there was one mixed race girl in my year at school, and we didn't mix really. And there was a black girl, and I think there was another black girl in the year above, and none of us mixed together. You know, it wasn't that we identified with each other and we come together, because again, we were very different people. We were very different as individuals. I can remember going up to senior school, and I think because I was grown into a young woman, I used to get a lot of tension from the males. And I think in my mind, it made me feel uncomfortable. Because again, that did make me feel different. So it wasn't necessarily about my colour, my race. It was actually the fact that I had that attention. It made me feel uncomfortable.
But did you ever feel that you were getting then kind of like, you know, a bit of jealousy from like
very much
white girls, black girls, Asian girls?
There wasn't any black girls. That, I mean, like I said, there was very few. And we didn't mix in the same circles, so we didn't really communicate with each other. But very much so, older white girls, I'd get them calling me names, and none of it was anything to do with my race. It was, it was names like bitch, and they'd walk past me, and none of it was anything to do with my race, weirdly.
So it was just purely just jealousy in a sense?
Yes, it was, I think. Looking back, I mean, at the time it was confusing. Because you don't see it as that, you see it as people don't like me. But again, like I said, it didn't really, my race never came into it.
And I guess that's a good thing in a sense, but it's still horrible to be called, you know, derogatory names, you know. But I guess, again, as you said though, you know, being a teenager, it's confusing. It's hormonal as it is anyway.
It is, but what I can recall as a teenager, I mean, my name isn't really an unusual name, but it felt unusual when I was at school. And I don't think this was anything to do with my race as such, but I remember wanting to be called Susan.
Really?
Yes, and I remember wanting to have blonde hair.
Oh, wow.
But then I think I wanted goofy teeth. That was just, I think it was just, I don't think it was anything to do with my race. I didn't identify it as having anything to do with it. But it's just about that wanting to fit in, isn't it?
100%. Do you know what? I can relate to that actually, Gemma, because when I was younger, I would have like a massive, like I had really long hair, but it was like a Diana Ross afro. It was massive afro hair. And I used to like tie ribbons onto my like ponytail. So my mum would put my hair, because obviously being, you know, a white woman, she didn't really know much about how to look after mixed race hair. So she'd put my hair on the top of my head in a pom-pom, and I used to be so embarrassed with this big bushy thing on the top of my head. But what I wanted, my cousin, she had long blonde hair, and literally there's about 3 or 4 months between us. We were always together, and she was white, blonde hair, blue eyes. And I used to want the flow of her hair, and obviously afro just kind of sits still.
So I used to tie ribbons to my like hair bands. So I'd have like different, I must have looked like Boy George with these different ribbons hanging down. But I just wanted to flick them, you know, over my shoulder. So yeah, I can kind of relate to the hair thing for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And just going back to the hair thing, I do recall there was a stage at school where there was probably 2 males that were in my year in particular. And again, I guess this is to do with my race, because it was to do with my hair, and because my hair was just like a frizz on top of my head, they used to call me Fuzzbuzz.
Oh.
But it didn't really affect me in the sense of, I mean, you know, I don't necessarily agree with violence, but it was the 80s,
Right.
and I'd hit them, and then it wouldn't happen again. Yeah, it wouldn't be the end of it. So yeah, it was kind of, I didn't really feel, I felt vulnerable at school, but I don't think any more than anybody else did at that age, really, because I could actually stick up for myself. So it was never really a major issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was always quite popular.
Right.
So
yeah, no, I get that, because the school that I said I went to, that I used to get chased home, I was only there for a year at secondary school, and my mum just pulled me out because it was just too much for me to be there. And then she moved me to a smaller school, because I was used to going to a small village school anyway, mostly. Yeah. She moved me to a smaller school, and then I got on really well there. Like yourself, I become like, you know, once the year 10s had moved out, you know, I kind of become a popular girl, you know, and then you kind of create your own circle.
And I think you flourish then. That's when you flourish. But you can't see it at that age, can you? But again, I think that's more to do with age than race.
Definitely, definitely. But I think, I from my life experience, I think I'm so happy to be mixed race, because I get to see, you know, both sides of the coin.
Absolutely. And the different types of food. I mean, I always remember loving going to my mom and dad's house, because, you know, I used to see my cousins, there was lots of us, we'd have nice food, and whereas my mom's side, although we all lived within close vicinity of each other and we used to see each other on a regular basis, it was very different, but I did enjoy both.
Right. No, 100%. No, I like on a Sunday, I think with me and my family now, we kind of flip. So one Sunday we'll cook chicken, rice and peas, and the next Sunday we're having a Sunday roast, you know, with loads of gravy and Yorkshire puddings.
Yeah.
So it's really nice, you know, we get to be exposed to the both sides.
Yes.
Okay, I think we've got another question. Go for it, Gemma.
So what obstacles did you or do you face as a mixed race woman?
Ooh, okay, so I don't think I really faced any, to be honest with you. No. Not now as an actual mature woman. I find being mixed race is an advantage.
Yeah.
Because as I said, you know, it's both sides of the coin. And I think it's kind of helped me socialise a lot more.
Yeah, I think you can appreciate it a lot more when you're when you're mature.
Yeah.
As you're getting older, you can definitely, that's what I've done. I've kind of grown into appreciating it.
Right, 100%. Because I think for me, it's very much about everybody should be united anyway, you know. And everybody everyone is an individual, and we should respect people for who they are, and we need to learn about each other, not kind of just in a sense put somebody in a cohort, you know. And because sometimes we have these stereotypes where where people see, people become unconscious bias, and they have this idea where they may see black people and see them dress a certain way, or behave a certain way, or say certain things, and then people think then that if anything, they're potentially being rude or hostile or something like that.
Yeah, most definitely. And if I think over the years, I think I'm quite passionate about things. So if I've got a belief in something, and I do think, although I'm not saying there isn't other races that potentially have that in them. I do. I'm very animated.
Yeah.
If I'm passionate about something and I'm talking with my hands. And,
Yeah.
and if I think over the years, people have commented about it, but I think weirdly, as I get older, people comment less about it. I don't know whether that's because I've calmed down a bit, but I don't feel like I have, but I do get very passionate about things and I'm very animated when I do.
Yeah, but I think maybe that's like a Caribbean trait that we have in us, because I know that my family, you know, in Barbados, they're very much outspoken and they will, you know, say what's on their mind, but they are, again, very animated. But then sometimes, you know, other cultures can take it in the wrong way and it's misconstrued as to coming across, you know, maybe being a bit, you know, aggressive or, you know, making people feel uncomfortable. But again, it's a cultural thing, I think, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah, interesting. Okie dokie. So we've got, I think, 2 more questions. So I'll ask you this one, Gemma. So what do you identify as now?
I think again, as I growed up in a predominantly white area, I was with my white cousins quite a lot. My friends, as I left school, tended to be white, but I think as I've left school and got older, I've kind of come into contact, I guess, more with other females of mixed race, and black females, and that I've become friends with, and I just think, it's just kind of, I guess it's helped me grow into myself as well, and I definitely feel more comfortable. I mean, that comes with age as well, I think.
Yeah.
But I really don't look
At colour.
now. Weirdly, I don't, and I don't know whether it's because I haven't grown up with where people have put such an emphasis on it. And I do think it's important, don't get me wrong, you know, especially from the cultural aspect. But again, I feel like I've had both sides, so I feel like it makes it easier for me to feel comfortable no matter who I'm with, really.
Yeah, I get that definitely. Yeah, I get that. So I think, what have we got?
We've got one more question, if I can ask you. It's,
okay.
Can you tell us how you feel about your race?
Oh, wow, okay. I love the fact now that we now on application forms have mixed race.
Yeah, yeah, for a long time you did.
We were just other, weren't we? We just hit other.
Yeah, we were just other.
Yeah, just like the aliens. So I love that fact. And now, as a child, I always used to be curious and wonder, why are there no old mixed race people?
Yeah.
And I honestly
I never thought about that.
And I used to get really concerned, thinking, do mixed race people die then, you know, really at real early age? But obviously it's kind of like we were the new generation, do you know what I mean? We're the new race in a sense, obviously, where we had, like, you know, the Black Caribbean men that came over, you know, and we had, like, I know it was a lot of the white Irish women, kind of, you know, Black and Irish back in the day, you know, they, you know, in pubs they had signs where it said, like, no Irish, no blacks and no dogs, you know. So it's crazy, but I know that a lot of, like, black, white women and black men did mix together, and obviously, you know, they created this amazing race that we are, Gemma. But yeah, as a kid, I would always wonder, why have I not seen any old mixed race people? It used to actually truly be like a fear of me.
I've never thought about that before. The only thing I ever think of now, if I look back, particularly from when I was younger, was I wish that I'd have been given Black history at school.
Oh,
you know, I wish my family would have told me more about Black history. But my dad's family they weren't that way inclined.
Wow, okay.
Now, I'm old enough, I can find out for myself, and I do try. but it's very difficult when you're working and you're older and you've got lots of other things going on.
Right.
So I think going forward, that's one thing I definitely like to look more into.
Right. No, that's really good. I think from me, my dad would really drill it into me and my sister about Black history, and he'll sit us down, and he had a lot of books, and he'd you know, get us to read a lot of stuff about Black history. And my dad's like 85, you know, and he's like the wise man, and he'll give us so much knowledge. It's like a fountain of knowledge with regards to Black history. And you know, certain things that he'll talk about that, you know, he'll get quite emotional about, because when he first came to the UK, my dad suffered a lot of racism, and my dad said that he would, just for him to walk home, as he walked past each pub, he would have to almost have a fight just to be able to walk down another street, because people would fight him because of his colour.
And that's, I mean, and that to me, it's a shock, because my dad never spoke about things like that, and maybe that's where the thing about him not talking about the history, and I don't know whether it's because he never experienced that. I can honestly hold my hand on my heart and say me and my dad have never had any conversations about what it was like for him when he first came over to England.
So that's a good thing. So I have really deep, because obviously my dad's 85 now, so I like to capture things, and I write things down as well after we've had conversations. And my sister likes to, obviously she gets his permission, but she likes to record these things as well, because she wants to make a book eventually. She'd like to do that.
But again, that might be an age, because my dad is 20 years
younger. Right.
So
if anything, my dad probably come along, because my dad said before, you know, that he's kind of paved the way for these, you know, Black males and females to be able to walk down the road freely and not have to have a fight, you know, just to walk down the road to get home. So yeah, maybe that's part of it. Look at that, look at that. Well, yeah, to wrap it up, really, I'm proud of my race. I love being mixed race. Wouldn't change it for the world. Don't know about you, Gemma.
Oh no, absolutely not. Wouldn't change it for anything. Not interested in being called Susan or having blonde hair any longer.
Yeah, you're embracing your curls now.
Love
it. Love it. Okay, brilliant. So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed our conversation with regards to where I belong on the for the Black History Month. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.